Now, the conclusion of this episode of Trial Story.
Your Honor, at this time the defense calls Heidi Fernandez to the stand.
Tom Hyde's wife, Heidi Fernandez, is the last witness defense lawyer Jeffrey Feiger calls on behalf of Dr. Jack Kevorkian. Fernandez puts an emotional cap on 5 days of charged testimony.
Will you please state your name for the court and jury?
My name is Heidi Fernandez.
And where do you live, Ms. Fernandez?
In Novi, Michigan.
And who do you live there with?
My daughter, Carmen.
And who is the father of Carmen?
Thomas Hyde.
Fernandez says strange things started happening to Hyde shortly after Carmen's birth.
This one afternoon he came home from work and it was about 1:30. It was a beautiful day and I'm thinking, wait a minute, you work in landscape, it's a beautiful day, it's 1:30, why are you here? And he was walking up our walk and I was excited because I thought we would be able to spend the day together. And I opened the door and I said, why are you here? It was just kind of an eerie feeling. And he started crying. And he said, I couldn't hold my hammer today, Heidi. And he couldn't squeeze it in his hand. He couldn't tell his hand to squeeze the hammer.
His chest muscles had been bunching up in spasms.
I said, Tom, we're going to go to the doctor.
They didn't get the diagnosis for several weeks.
Tom tried to work. Tom was not going to throw in the towel. He wanted to be diagnosed with something that was going to be treatable.
Hyde gave Heidi the bad news.
When he first said amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, I thought, sclerosis? Not good. Then I thought, what is that? And he said, it's Lou Gehrig's disease, and then I understood what it was, and I panicked, and my legs gave out from underneath me.
Hyde deteriorated rapidly.
Tom would choke so bad that he would fall down on the floor because he couldn't breathe. Tom didn't want hospice.
Why?
Tom was so proud. He was a very proud man, and he did not want people to come in and take care of him.
Fernandez got Hyde Kevorkian's address. She says Kevorkian was extremely solicitous of Tom when they first met in June of 1993.
Jack asked Tom, what can we possibly do to help you to alleviate your suffering? What can we do for you?
Did Tom want to commit suicide?
Absolutely not.
What did Tom want?
He wanted to end the suffering, and the body was just in the way.
Fernandez said goodbye to Hyde in the parking lot outside Kevorkian's van.
I hugged him, and I never wanted to let him go.
Finally, Feiger asks Fernandez what she thinks about the service Kevorkian provided.
Did you ever feel that Dr. Kevorkian had ever done him any harm?
Dr. Kevorkian was the only person that was willing to help him. He was the only person that could help him.
Kenny begins his cross-examination.
The only area of questioning for Heidi Fernandez that I was interested in was the notion of trying to get from her expectation that when she said goodbye to Thomas Hyde that morning, she was not expecting to see him again because she knew he was going to die.
Getting Fernandez to say she didn't expect to see Hyde again after he left with Kevorkian was, however, no easy job.
Are you telling us that at the time that Mr. Hyde got into the vehicle that you were expecting him back at the apartment later that day?
Expecting?
Yeah.
I don't know how I felt right then. I don't know if I could say expecting. Tom's still alive to me. Tom's still here. I see him in my dreams. So Tom, it wasn't the last time I saw Tom. I never thought it was going to be the last time I was going to see him.
My question for you...
I knew that his suffering was going to be over.
Kenny presses on.
Had you made plans for him to be home for dinner?
Let's see. Did I make plans for him to be home for dinner? Maybe did I take out some pork chops and thaw them out? No, I didn't do that. I wasn't really quite sure, Mr. Kenny. That was a very emotional day for me as a result of Tom's suffering being ended. Pardon me if I don't have total recall.
The defense rests. Before they begin closing arguments, Kenny, as part of his rebuttal case, offers a videotape of the press conference Kevorkian gave the day after Hyde's death. The most interesting thing about the tape, from Kenny's point of view, is a statement Feiger made about where the suicide took place.
I think it's significant, and I think it's apropos that Thomas Hyde died in a beautiful park setting in Belle Isle.
Kenny has given jurors a very good reason to suspect Feiger and Kevorkian changed their account of the suicide's whereabouts. After it occurred to Feiger, he might be able to get Kevorkian off on the venue question.
Member of the jury, that means that you heard all of the evidence in the case before we proceed.
Each side presents a final argument.
I need to sit.
So what is Jack Kevorkian's intent? What was Jack Kevorkian's intent with regards to this canister? This canister that was filled with carbon monoxide. You heard Dr. Kevorkian testify yesterday. You heard Dr. Kevorkian testify, I did not expect, I had no expectation that he would die. I surmised, I guessed that he might die. Ladies and gentlemen, that's an insult to you.
Dismissing Feiger's suggestion that Hyde's suicide took place behind Kevorkian's apartment as another insult designed to deflect attention from the real issue, Kenny urges the jury to find Kevorkian guilty.
Have we lost all sanity? My God. Are we not human? Is it possible? Is it possible that this can be happening today?
Feiger uses his closing argument to make a final impassioned appeal to the jurors.
Today, in 1994, in April, we will send compassionate doctors to prison for helping us relieve our pain and suffering. It can't be. It can't be.
He can't do so directly, but Feiger seems to be asking jurors to disregard an immoral law. Pulling out all the stops, Feiger invokes the spirit of the dead landscaper.
Tom Hyde himself talked to you, and he talks to each and every one of you now from the grave. And what he says to me every day of my life, and I know what he says to Dr. Kevorkian every day of whatever life he has left. Don't let me down. Don't let my life and my death be in vain. Don't back down. Don't stand down.
Kevorkian himself said he assisted with Thomas Hyde's suicide. But did the state convince the jury the suicide took place on Belle Isle and that Kevorkian's aim was to end Hyde's life and not merely to help end his suffering? If not, the jurors must acquit Kevorkian. The defense is optimistic.
I would be shocked if he's convicted. I don't think that's possible.
You think it'll be a quick verdict?
Yeah. I really do. I don't know how quick. I mean, I don't know if it'll be 10 minutes, but I don't think it'll be 3 days.
After 8 hours of deliberations, the jury has not yet reached a verdict.
My feeling was that since the defense argument was so based on an appeal to emotion, that the longer the jury stayed out, the longer they talked, the better a chance that I had.
What about you? Are you surprised it's taken this long already?
Yeah, shouldn't have.
After 2 days of deliberation, the jury reaches a verdict.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Jack Kevorkian, not guilty of assisted suicide.
Jurors give conflicting explanations for their decision.
I think Mr. Feiger presented the better case. Or he didn't necessarily present the better case, but the prosecution didn't present a sufficient case.
I believe that he did this to relieve this man's pain and suffering. The prosecutor didn't give me enough proof to satisfy myself that it happened on Belle Isle.
I thank the jury. I thank them from the bottom of my heart.
The defendant, who spent most of the trial studying Japanese at the counsel table, maintains his apparent indifference.
The verdict to me was irrelevant. I knew what was needed. I knew it was right.
We made history.
The case of Michigan versus Kevorkian has been the trial of the century.
The question at the heart of this case was, did Jack Kevorkian break the law? Not, is Michigan's law unconstitutional? So it's hard to say what impact, if any, Kevorkian's victory will have on the future of these laws in Michigan and elsewhere. But Kevorkian's trial suggests prosecutors may have a tough time convincing jurors to send anyone to jail for helping someone die. Kevorkian has begun a petition drive aimed at amending Michigan law to allow assisted suicide. The doctor won't say whether he'll participate in any more suicides.
I can't speculate on what I personally will not do.
His lawyer, characteristically, is less reticent.
I'm quite certain that he'll assist in additional medicides because it's right and people aren't going to stop dying tomorrow or suffering tomorrow. Hopefully I'll be standing there as his protector.
For Court TV, I'm Terry Moran.
If you are interested in purchasing this or any other trial story shown on Court TV, call 800-888-4580.